All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are not talking about another diet. Forget that. Think of this as a masterclass in biological engineering. We're going to treat your body not as some kind of mystery, but as a system that you can understand, you can control, and you can absolutely optimize with precision. Okay, so let's just start with this question because it really changes everything. A journey is something that kind of happens to you, right? It's passive. But engineering, that's active. That's something you do. It's about shifting from just hoping you get results to literally programming them right into your own biology. So let's begin. So before we can start building anything, we have to understand the one problem we're trying to solve. And that problem is something we'll call metabolic noise. Just think of it like this. Your body is always sending out signals. Burn fat, build muscle, repair this tissue. But when your system is just flooded with the biological static of inflammation and insulin resistance, well, those critical commands, they just get lost. Your cells, they basically go deaf. Our entire goal here is to silence that noise so the right signals can finally get through loud and clear. So here's our game plan. We're going to cover 4 foundational pillars. First, the metabolic reset. That's to silence the noise that's already there. Second, the glucose shield, to block any new interference from coming in. Third, the anabolic switch, to send a crystal clear signal for growth. And fourth, the survival signal, which makes sure those gains are permanent. And then we'll put it all together into a single actionable daily blueprint.
Okay, first things first. We have to perform a system-wide reset. Now, this isn't about cutting calories. Not at all. This is a precise hormonal intervention, and it's designed to completely reboot your metabolic environment using our first tool, fasting.
The protocol is super specific. An 18-hour fast followed by a 6-hour feeding window. And let's be really clear, this is not an arbitrary number. This timing is specifically engineered to manipulate your hormones and to create a very, very specific biological cascade of events. So let's look at what's actually happening under the hood. For 18 hours, by not eating, you are forcing your insulin levels to hit rock bottom. And that drop flips a master metabolic switch in your body called AMPK. Think of AMPK as your body's main energy sensor. When it gets activated, it does 2 absolutely critical things. It commands your body to start burning its own stored fat for fuel, and it kicks off a process called autophagy, which is basically a deep cellular cleaning process that gets rid of junk proteins and damaged cells. This is how we actively silence that metabolic noise, right at the cellular level. Okay, so now that we've created this quiet, clean cellular environment, we have to protect it. And that brings us to our second pillar. We need to install a shield to block any incoming metabolic noise from the food we're about to eat. Now, not all fiber is created equal for this job. We need a very specific tool, and that is soluble fiber. We're talking about things like psyllium husk, glucomannan, or the fiber in oats. This type of fiber mixes with water in your gut and forms a thick gel. And that is our shield. It's completely different from the insoluble fiber you get in, say, broccoli or a salad. That stuff acts more like a broom, kind of sweeping out your digestive tract. Both are good, for sure, but only the shield can protect you from a glucose spike. Just look at this graph. It tells the whole story. This is what happens to your blood sugar after a meal. Without that fiber shield, you get this huge, sharp spike in blood glucose, and that forces a massive insulin spike to deal with it. That's the very metabolic noise that over time makes your muscle cells resistant or deaf. But look what happens when you take just 10 grams of soluble fiber before that exact same meal. The response is blunted. It becomes a gentle, rolling hill instead of a sharp mountain. We've shielded our system, and that keeps ourselves sensitive and ready for the next command. All right, this is where it gets really good. With the noise silenced and the shield up, we are finally ready to send a signal. This is the absolute core of the entire protocol. How we send a powerful, clear, and undeniable command to the body to build that precious, metabolically active muscle. You have to get this concept because it's the most important one. You don't kind of build muscle. You don't just slowly turn up a dimmer switch by snacking on protein here and there. It's a binary, all or nothing event. The switch is either completely on or it's completely off. And our job as biological engineers is to learn how to flip that switch on command. So how do we flip that switch? Well, the ignition key is a specific amino acid called leucine. You have to hit a certain threshold, about 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single sitting. If you get 2.4 grams, guess what? Nothing happens. The switch stays off. The engine doesn't start. To reliably hit that number, you generally need to get about 30 to 40 grams of a high-quality protein. This is the non-negotiable trigger for the mTOR pathway, which is the master regulator for growth in your body.
Now, let's look at what happens after you flip the switch. The muscle building process, it kicks into high gear, but it only runs for about 3 hours. After that, a biological stop switch gets hit. The muscle is now full, and it enters what's called a refractory period. That means the machinery is temporarily unresponsive to any more protein. It literally doesn't matter if you eat more protein during this window, the system is busy, and it cannot accept new commands until it's had time to reset itself.
So that 3-hour refractory period, that dictates our entire strategy. See, we can't just graze on protein all day and hope for the best. We have to be strategic. We hit that leucine threshold, we let the 3-hour muscle building window run its course, we wait for the machinery to reset, and then we hit it again. This simple biological fact allows us to trigger 4 separate, powerful muscle building events in a single day. At 12 noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and finally at 9 p.m.
Okay, so we've silenced the noise, we've shielded the system, and we've sent the signal to build. But there's one more piece. We have to lock in those gains. We have to give the body a really compelling reason to actually follow our commands, and more importantly, to keep the new metabolically active tissue it built.
So here's the deal. Muscle is metabolically expensive. Your body actually sees it as a luxury, and to be more efficient, it would rather get rid of it. But what your body also knows is that muscle is a powerful endocrine organ. It produces these amazing compounds called myokines, which do things like improve fat breakdown, reduce inflammation, and even promote brain cell growth. So by lifting weights to near failure a few times a week, we send an urgent, undeniable survival signal, a signal that says, hey, I need this powerful organ to survive. This mechanical command forces the body not only to build the muscle, but to keep it around. And we can even engineer our cardio with this really cool physiological hack. When you do lower intensity cardio breathing only through your nose, you actually pull something called nitric oxide from your sinuses down into your lungs. This is a potent vasodilator, meaning it widens your blood vessels. At the same time, it helps maintain a better CO2 balance in your blood. This is known as the Bohr effect, and all it means is that your red blood cells can deliver oxygen to your mitochondria, your cellular power plants, way more efficiently. The result? You can dramatically improve your VO2 max and your fat-burning ability. Okay, we have covered all 4 pillars. We've laid out the science. Now let's assemble all the pieces into the final blueprint, a simple 24-hour schedule for engineering your own biology.
Here's what it looks like when it all comes together. At 7 a.m., you take a fasted walk, breathing only through your nose to send that nitric oxide signal and ramp up fat burning. At 12 p.m., you break your fast with your first protein pulse, say a whey protein shake, to ignite mTOR. 3 hours later, at 3 p.m., the system is reset, so you hit it again. Another pulse at 6 p.m. with your dinner. And finally, at 9 p.m., you have a slow-digesting casein protein. This acts as a bridge, feeding your muscles a slow, steady stream of amino acids overnight to prevent breakdown while you sleep and take advantage of growth hormone release. You see? Every single action is timed for a specific physiological reason.
So, just remember this. Your health isn't something that just happens to you. It is a system of signals and responses. And now you have the blueprint. You've got the tools. You understand the signals. You are no longer just a passenger along for the ride. You are the engineer. So the only question left is, what system will you build?